2017 was one of the best years in board gaming, and I'm wanting to highlight some of the games from that year. Today we're going to be looking at the top 10 intellectual property games of 2017. Keep in mind, I can only rate the games I actually played, and my number 10 is a little questionable. I already know that, but you won't believe number 1 at all. But let's take a look at this list, okay? Number 10 is Five Nights at Freddys. Now, this is one of those where you're trying to take the goodie from it, and he'll jump out on a timer, or if you press it down enough times. A Don't Wake Daddy, you've seen a lot of these. There's a Stitch one with his teeth, but it kind of works with this theme pretty well. My kids really like Five Nights at Freddy, and this is a really fun one to play with them. And I think of the jump scares, really brings the IP in with this one. But this is a reach, it's a kid's game, but it's number 10 on the list. Is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Showdown. This is kind of like a battle game. The components were a little weird, the rules were a little thing, but it was something unique that you're going to be doing. One player will play the Turtles, the other team will play the bad guys, or Bebop and Rocksteady, etc. And you're trying to meet the goals that you're doing in the game. It's a little bit of a skirmish game. I think it works fine. It's not something that's really going to stick with you for a long time. But for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle fans, this is one you may have missed. Check this one out, Showdown. Number 8, now this one I feel really bad. This is where we start getting into the good games. And I feel like maybe I should have put this one up higher. That's Bob Ross Art of Chill. It's a really fun game about doing the paintings like you would with him, and you're getting these paint colors, and you're finishing up the paintings in order. The components are really good. It really brings in the theme of the Bob Ross and painting through it. This is a mass market game too. One people kind of laughed at when it first came out. It was like a Kenny G game. It's another Bob Ross game, which we won't talk about. But this one was a solid little gateway game. One I can recommend to you. Bob Ross Art of Chill. Number 7 is Super Mario Brothers Level Up. Now this is a remake of another game, but this is the only version that I played. And you're kind of like jumping up this area, and you want to get them up in order to score more points, etc. It kind of feels like Mario Brothers more than does Super Mario Brothers, if you know that game, as you're going up and you're leveling up. But the game is really fun. I really like this game, and I can understand why it was rethemed to Super Mario Brothers, because there really hasn't been that definitive Super Mario Brothers game yet. But this was really fun, and one I can easily recommend to you. Number 6 is going to give me a little bit of hot water, but it's Ghostbusters 2. So Ghostbusters 1 was like this big kind of miniatures game. This is back when the miniature games were kind of coming out. And it was a little iffy. People didn't like it. There were some production problems, etc. But it didn't take off the way I think that they wanted. So what did they do? They doubled down on it and gave us Ghostbusters 2. It's a really fun little game. I like this game. It's not something I would take too seriously. It's not the dungeon crawl. But if you like Ghostbusters, this comes with a lot of stuff from the series. You can put the 2 games together. 2 is probably better than 1, but it's a really fun little Ghostbusters game, one I can easily recommend to you if you're a Ghostbusters fan, if you're not looking for a Ghostbusters game. Number 5, this one could have easily been number 1. It's This War of Mine. This is based off a video game that has a very dark tone to it, and it just kind of beats you up and beats you up and beats you up and never lets up. Luckily for us, the board game does the same thing. It is a brutal game. It has a fantastic story that utilizes a book. I think if this was released today, it would probably have an app. I think it'd be the better for it. But the book and reading through it and the sadness and the torture that kind of goes in this game, this is an experience. It's a solo-only game, but you can maybe do decisions together with other people, I think. And there's a lot of little expansions and doohickeys that you can add to it. It was a big Kickstarter at the time. But it's going to take a particular gamer to want to sit through this. I think once you do, it's like, okay, I'm going to put this away for a while. This War of Mine. Wow. Check this one out. Number 4, I have to admit, is a guilty pleasure of mine. I love the original Planet of the Apes movie. It is one of the greatest movies ever made. And now we have a Richard Lanius. Yes, Richard Lanius board game based on the IP. It's a dice chucker. You're kind of, you probably get screwed by the dice sometimes. But wow, what a fun little experience. And it does go with the story, so it's linear in that regard. But I enjoy this and kind of pressing my luck and utilizing the dice and mitigating them as I go through. And the artwork. Oh, wow, the artwork in this game. If you haven't played Planet of the Apes, it's one of my favorite guilty pleasures. Just like the movie, I suppose. They nailed it with the IP on this one. Number 3 is Vikings Gone Wild. Yeah, this is a really fun deck builder. It's like an in-your-face deck builder, an entry-level deck builder, but one I really, really enjoyed. I got this one for free at a Dice Tower con. I can't remember which one. It was the Cruise. And I ended up picking up a lot of the expansions for it. It's cooperative and adds different things and wrinkles to it. It's a really fun game that's based off a video game that doesn't exist anymore. It was a mobile game that has gone by the wayside. So I don't believe it exists in any format anymore, unless you have an old phone that happen to have it. But the board game allows it to live on. Vikings Gone Wild. If you haven't played it and you like deck builders and you want something a little simpler, check this one out. I think they re-released this again. I think it'd be a hit. It's a really fun game, and I can't believe more people don't play this one. Number 2 is The Godfather by CMON Games. This game is phenomenal, and I don't know this for certain because I don't know how things are selling or whatever, but I kind of feel like this one was a miss. People didn't pick it up, or maybe they overproduced it. I just remember it being in the clearance and bargain bins forever. And it has a really cool theme. The miniatures are great. The game is really fun. You're putting mobsters down. You have like a little trunk that you're putting your stuff in. Real nice metal thing. And you're putting it in there and you're hiding what you're able to get. And what a fun little game. It does have, it's in your face. You know, your mobsters, about what you would expect from the mob. But wow, this one is really, really good. It's an Eric Lane game. And I don't know why people didn't play it. I don't know why people didn't buy it. It has a really nice intellectual property on it. It looked good. It had a famed designer on it. I don't know. There was some controversy at the time. There were some comments that were being made. But I don't know. This game is fantastic. One I recommend you go back and find if you don't mind a little in your face when you're playing a board game. Now, my number 1 IP-driven game of the year is probably no surprise to anybody. It's Star Wars Rebellion. Now, I'm not even a large Star Wars fan. Of course, I like it. If the new movie comes out, I'll probably go see it. I haven't seen all the TV shows. It's not something that ever spoke to me, to be honest. I didn't grow up on Star Wars. This wasn't something... Boy, is this game Star Wars in a box. And there was a Star Trek Fleet Captains that came out, and that is Star Trek in a box. Star Wars Rebellion, this is Star Wars in a box. This game is phenomenally produced. I like the game. I like the tension. It's 2-player. It's a 4-player team, but it's a 2-player game, and you really feel like you're going to Star Wars universe. The characters are in here that you want. None of that prequel stuff. It is the original trilogy. You get a Death Star. You're shooting things. You got to find the Rebel base. Each side's asymmetrical, and they play differently. Wow, what an experience. This was a good year for intellectual property games, and Star Wars Rebellion leads the way. So that's my list of 2017 best intellectual property games. Man, this is a powerhouse game. Maybe the first 2 weren't as strong as the rest, but as you go 1 through 8, there were some very good intellectual property games released. Number 1 kind of is a little bit further ahead than everybody else, I think. But unique things like this War of Mine and Bob Ross, The Art of Chill, very new games here for a lot of different gamers. Check out the games on this list. Let me know which ones you like the best. Thanks for watching.